Welcome back, everybody. This is Edwin, the Magic Engineer, and I'm back with my friend Tavis King. And I'm going to present a topic here that I think will be useful to a lot of you guys out there, because many of us are in the same boat. You know, when you want to purchase a card, either in person or online, there's always that little bit of fear that this might not be a real card, and this is one of the best guys out there that you can actually ask a question about that. So I figured maybe we'd hit like the top three. When you're going to buy something in person, what are the top three things that you look for? And then if you're going to buy a card online, what are the top three things you're going to look for? So why don't I start us off with the top three things that you look for when you're going to purchase a card online, actually. What are your thoughts on that?
Online, the first thing I would look for is to make sure the seller is reputable. You can check their feedback, make sure they have some, if they're a brand new seller, that's a little bit of a red flag, It's true that new sellers, they come online all the time, and sometimes they have perfectly legit cars and you can get good deals.
What would you consider like a cutoff point, like above this or below this for you personally, even when you're buying?
I wouldn't really pick a number because there really are new sellers out there that have zero feedback. But just be more careful if you're dealing with a low feedback seller, because the scammers out there, they tend to lose their account and have to start a new one. And again and again and again, they do this. So they tend to have low feedback.
I get nervous with like less than like $200-300 when I'm buying a big dollar card.
For a big dollar card,
yeah.
But even for low value cards, you have to be careful sometimes because counterfeits exist for cheap cards too. I've seen counterfeit basic lands, full art basic lands. Sure.
Wow. I don't know why somebody would bother doing that, but okay, they exist.
So yeah, the seller feedback, and it doesn't mean you have to only deal with Star City or big game companies or Troll and Toad or any big companies like that. You can deal with small sellers too. Just check that feedback, see if there's any negatives or what people have to say. Actually look at it. Next, beyond that, is check out the pictures. See if they provide good pictures. A lot of people don't have good cameras, but if they can provide good pictures, you can really look at the card yourself and get your own feel for it. A lot of times fakes don't look right. There's something wrong. So if you can use that zoom in feature and sort of expand on the pictures, make them look big and have a good look at them, that helps a lot. Then you can be more confident regardless of what they say or their reputation, if you can get a good look at the cards.
Because if they're passing off something fake, they're probably either going to use someone else's photo or they're probably going to have a really bad photo. You just can't tell.
Yep. So you feel free to send them a message. Ask for better photos. Especially if it's a high value card. And the third thing would be to check the return policy or the buyer protection. Make sure that if something does go wrong, that you're covered. The PayPal protection is really pretty good, and eBay protection is pretty good also if you're a buyer. So there's other ways that you can get protection also through other venues, but those are the big two, PayPal and eBay. I like the idea of buying and selling on Facebook. PayPal offers good protection from that. You don't have to go through eBay. There's plenty of other ways to buy cards.
But there's sometimes a discussion that happens with that though, right? Because like if I'm going to buy something on Facebook, then like who pays the seller fees, that whole thing, that's a discussion that you often have with people.
Right.
Because they're not going to want to do it, but then you're like, well, if I don't do it, I'm not protected.
Exactly.
So it's a red flag if they just insist on like not doing it, but at the same time, you're going to pay a little bit more for having that, but at least you have that protection.
In some communities, it's really common to send via friends and family because sellers don't want that risk of having a return.
Yeah.
And if the community's tight-knit, that can be a common thing. But keep in mind, you're not protected if that happens. So sometimes it's worth paying the extra fees to have that protection.
There's another thing I actually look for on eBay as well. I always look at their previously completed auctions. I go back and I check it, because if I'm going to buy like a dual land, for instance, I go and I look, and if I see like, revised demonic tutor, fork, and these other things that they actually sold and people actually got it, I feel a lot more confident. But I feel nervous when it's like, they're selling like anything that, under the sun, and then here's like this, very expensive magic card. I just happen to have a Beta Black Lotus or something like that.
Right.
And they just put this thing, I'm just hoping to just snag a bunch of money. So, yeah, I definitely look at older things that they sold as well.
Yep. Sometimes they put in a lot of low-value cards and auction them to get their feedback up before they start pumping the fakes.
Yeah.
So it's a little time-consuming, but it happens.
Yep. Okay, that's good stuff.
Yep, duals are probably the most counterfeited card. Power 9, not as much. I mean, it does get counterfeited for sure. Cause
people look at it closer, right?
Exactly. But duals, they get counterfeited a lot. And shock lance and fetch lance, those are probably the big things to watch out for.
Yeah, so maybe before we go to the actual cards, I'd like to expand that topic a little bit because people always talking about, there's a lot of people out there that think like reserve list cards are eventually going to get destroyed by Chinese counterfeits. In fact, I guarantee people watching this video right now, they're probably sitting there thinking, oh, well, Edwin's wrong about reserve lists. As soon as those Chinese counterfeits get good enough, man, they're going to take over. In my experience with like the power cards, just like you were saying, it's been different. Specifically for the reason because people look really closely. Like when you buy a $1,000 card, you're looking like
absolutely.
this at it.
Yeah.
You're feeling it, and you're looking at it under a microscope, or you're
Yep.
only buying it from a reputable seller. And it's so much harder to sneak a fake past those people.
Sure. Yeah.
And it also seems like the newer ones are easier to fake.
They are, actually, yeah. With the newer, lower quality card stock, it actually looks more like the fake cards. Wizards isn't helping.
Yeah, do you have more info? I mean, it seems like that to me from the outside, but do you have any information on that? Like, have you spoken to people and been able to authenticate that that's the case in some other ways?
First of all, the card stock the counterfeiters are using is not the real card stock, at least in most cases. So it doesn't match the old cards. However, the newer cards aren't on the same card stock as the old cards all the time. Wizards actually uses a few different printing companies to print their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wizards doesn't print cards themselves, in case anyone didn't know that. They actually hire printing facilities other companies own.
Carta Mundi or whatever?
Carta Mundi has been the traditional printing company. That's the old school for a long time. That was what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's been some other companies too, like PBM Graphics is one. Uquinto is one. Carta Mundi actually bought them later on. Quebecor is one. There's one in Japan. I forget the name. It starts with an A. There's a few different ones. Shepard Porman in Indianapolis printed cards for them for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I actually heard once that the card stock that they used for the original sets, that card stock actually ran out. Like there was actually no more of it. And there was like a problem actually remaking that original card stock, even if they wanted to.
It's possible. I haven't heard anything that confirms that, but it's definitely possible. You know, whenever you're making something, if you make it for enough years, sometimes you have to change the recipe. Like some ingredient that they use to make that, probably not the wood pulp, but probably one of the chemicals that's used in the creation of the cardstock is probably some kind of environmental hazard, or there's some regulation that requires it not to be used anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that happens, they got to change the recipe. So things do change over time. Yeah.
What about the blue core that people always talk about that's in the middle of the cards?
Yeah.
So it's I'm always impressed when I hear about that, because I often think back and think, you know, did these guys know that they needed to make these hard to replicate, and they need to make them really durable and stuff, and so they went through this whole process on doing really good card stock? Was that a thought that Wizards had at the beginning? Or did they just, like, there was already a set process on making playing cards and they just followed it?
They did know that they needed to make it durable. More durable than typical collector's cards, because it was going to be played as a game. And that was very important in selecting the right cardstock. And that's why we have the cards with the blue layer inside. The purpose of that blue layer is not a glue, it's actually a graphite laminate. It laminates the two halves of the card together, their front and back. They're laminated with that blue layer. And the layer could be different colors, not necessarily on Magic cards, but I mean when they're making cardstock, that graphite is available with different colors in it. Blue is commonly seen in Magic cards, it's the most common. Black is also possible. The cards printed by Shepard Porman, they used black.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't checked an alternate fourth card. I wouldn't surprise me if it was also black, because the bicycle playing card.
Did Wizards
frequently
always
has
stick
black.
with blue, or like are all of them blue?
No.
They've changed since then?
Yeah. In 1996, right around then, give or take a year, Shepard Porman printed a lot of different cards, you know, from specific sets. Specific print jobs were sent to Shepard Porman, and those cards have black cardstock, black core cardstock. And so they light test differently. And that's really what the coloring in the graphite laminate is about. It's about not being able to see through the card when you're holding it up, because you don't want your opponent on the other side of the table to be able to see through the card and tell what you're holding in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the purpose for coloring that inside layer.
Oh, okay. I never heard that before.
Yep, that's what it's all
Seems
about.
like it'd be a pretty bright light.
It would be pretty bright light, sunlight or something like that.
For someone to actually see what card you've got through the back of it.
Yeah.
But these days, everyone's got
back.
the sleeves and everything on, so you wouldn't be able to see. Like,
yeah, it's not an issue
anyways.
today, but back then it was, and so we kept using the same cardstock throughout all the years because you don't really want to change it, mid-production.
Does that type of core that they use, the laminate that you're talking about, does that affect like the feel and the thickness of the card as well?
It affects the bendability, like the flexible, the resilience, the bounce back. It really has a lot to do with that. It doesn't really affect the outside feel because it's not on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not that surface layer.
Right.
But the feel of it, like when you do this kind of thing, when you're like flipping the card,
exactly.
you can kind of feel it like that.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to switch to another angle here for the next section when he's talking about things you actually look for with the cards, so you guys can actually get a better viewpoint and get a little bit more focus on the actual cards. So we'll be right back. Okay, Tavis, let's see what cards you got here and some of your tips.
All right, so if you're trading in person, the first thing that you want to look for is the feel of the card. Go ahead and take it out of the sleeve and check it out. A lot of the fakes, they're just a little too shiny, kind of too glossy, and they feel kind of slippery. Some people describe that as waxy. That's not really a term that I use because I think of wax as being sticky or soft, but these are more like slick. So
we should probably clarify for everyone, all the cards they're looking at here on the screen, these are all fakes.
Yeah, these are all fake. Every one of these here is fake. So the next thing that I want to look for beyond the feel is the color. A lot of times on fakes, the color doesn't look right. Have a look at that card back there. So this is a real card back. This is a fake card back. Now, not all fakes are going to look like this. There's a lot of different ways that you can mess up when you're making a fake card. So some look better than others. There's another fake.
That one looks closer to the real, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So you can see there's different quality here.
Yeah, it really varies as you're going through the stack there. You can really see that some of them look closer, some are farther away, and they have different kinds of mistakes.
Yeah.
Like some are too red, some are too blue, some of them are too shiny.
Now this card has a real back, but it's fake on this side. It's not a reback or anything like that. This has been chemically wiped and printed on. So even though it's a real card stock, this side, this is not really a Mox Jet. This was probably a basic land or something. And if we had an unlimited jet here, you could see that the color was different. The next thing would be the print quality. This card right here, this is what they call dark beta. Its print quality was amazing for back in 1995 for a fake, but these days it really doesn't stand up to close inspection.
So there was a whole controversy on dark beta actually being a real thing, though, right?
Oh yeah.
People actually thought that it was a real set.
The legend was that it was printed inside the same print facility, and that you wouldn't be able to tell it apart from a real one. All that. But it was really just rumors. They are fakes. They're not printed on the real card stock.
Probably rumors started by the guys that made the quote-unquote dark betas, right?
Could be, yeah. Or anyone that had trouble telling them apart. So check out your print quality. If you can get, magnification like a scan or a loop, then all right.
Center a little bit more that way. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can actually see the right there, like see the honeycomb pattern. Do you want to talk about that? What they're looking at?
That's called a rosette. Those little circles that you see, and there's, they don't always look exactly like that. I mean, first of all, this is a fake card anyway. So let's look at the back of a.
Yeah, we should show them the text with that too.
Okay, so here is a rosette. This is created by all the different colored layers of print that are layered on top of each other, and they make this circular pattern. Now, it's not present in all areas of the card because not all areas of the card have all the colors. So see right here on this blue dot we have cyan, which is the blue color, and we have black. which is the black color. And over here we have all the colors. Let's find another area of the card to look at.
I'm grabbing something for another example here.
Sure. There we can see some, if I can get it lined up there. We can see some red and some yellow and some black.
Oh, not there. It's in this one of these boxes. So we should also show them the black text and how the black text pops out. And we've got your dark beta dual land there, and I'll pull out like a revised scrubland.
Yeah.
So that we can see the difference.
Let's get a real card.
Stop that one. I'll have the revised in just a second.
So,
I'm looking for it.
If you have a look at the text on this card, you can see that it has those other colored dots kind of inside of it. It's not really solid black.
There we go. There's the script line.
All right. Now this card, that looks nicer already.
That's a real scrubland.
Yeah, so this one's real, and the black doesn't have any other colors of dots inside of it. It's just a solid black color. Now there are counterfeits that also have the solid black color, but if you don't have the solid black color, then that's a red flag for you. Let's get up here to the mana symbols.
You can really see how that mana symbol just pops out like that. It's the two print processes, right? Because they did the black right over the top of the first print process.
Real cards are printed in layers.
Yeah, look at that white mana symbol right there. Yep. See how defined that is? You can see there's print dots and stuff all around it, but it's just nice and sharp and completely black.
And also, it's the older white mana symbol. In case you don't know, there's different mana symbols that have been used throughout the years. This is the older one.
So we should show them that same mana symbol on the fake scribblind.
So here's the fake. This is a dark beta one.
Yeah, good luck finding the mana symbol now.
Yeah.
Needle
close.
in the haystack.
There's the black.
Oh gosh, look how terrible that one is.
This way.
There you go. Yeah. You can see such a difference between those two. You could tell it was print dotted, like along with everything else.
Mm-hmm. And the text on this card, the fake, has kind of a white halo around it. So yeah, that's an example of a print quality difference.
Yep, there we go, guys.
So this is the dark beta scrubland. This is a fake front and back. Its print quality isn't up to par. So now this one is a real card on the back, real card stock, but it's been printed with this on it. It wasn't originally a Moxjet. It used to be something else. This is completely fake. This is another complete fake. Now this one, you got to watch out for mistakes sometimes, because sometimes the counterfeiters make mistakes also. This Nether Void right here is white bordered. You might know that they didn't print Nether Void in Chronicles, and Legends is not a white bordered set. This Black Lotus, if you have a look at that type line there, this is an artifact. There is no letter T in the middle of the word. Typo.
That is funny.
Yeah, so if you
that's
got
a terrible
you got a disenchant that's going to destroy an artifact, this is not one.
Artifact, I didn't even notice that.
Tarmogoyf, we have no casting cost. I happen to like cards that don't have a casting cost, so I enjoy having this one in my collection. But this is a fake. Misprinted fake card. Now it does have the little oval holo stamp here, holofoil, and that is just a sticker. It's stuck onto the card. I don't know if we can see it here. It has the Planeswalker symbol in it, but only once. It doesn't really look that great if you look at it up close. Here we go at non-foil. This is called Expedition, right?
Yep.
Yep. Not up to all these new
Zendikar
cards, but
Expedition lands.
yep. So that's a non-foil. Those are all supposed to be foil. So it's kind of a tip-off for you that it's not foil. Blood Moon, just another fake card. Here's a Beta Pearl and an Unlimited Pearl, both fake. Let's see if we can flip them over. And here is a Goblin Lackey. Now, not all fake cards are expensive. Sometimes they fake cheap stuff too.
So there we go. That's some tips from Tavis, right, on Edwin's channel. The best ways to detect, or like the main ways that at least he uses to look for possible fakes online when you're looking at them just on like eBay or wherever you're going to purchase, and what you actually look for on the actual cards. So, Tavis, thank you for coming over. It was a pleasure having you.
Good seeing you again.
Hope to have you back sometime.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.